Let's start with what we were meant to have at 9 o'clock, and that is the impeached governor, Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu. He was meant to come on at 9 to speak with Ken Mijungu, but akakuwa mteja just minutes to the broadcast and gave us a wide berth. But right as we were expecting it, we were of course promoting this online, and many talked about this particular anticipated interview. And one person who's actually meant to be on the show today, but she's out of town, Shefa Okore, she says, what clownery levels are these? Why can't you elevate this conversation, NTV, for shame? Basically saying that we're giving a platform to the same people who are in corruption cases, and there are many reactions. And yes, this is Roy Karaoke. If you're able to see what I'm looking at on the screen, I hope our technician can be able to hook us up. Roy Karaoke says they ran this bold headline about us electing clowns. Then they push these same clowns into our living rooms, giving them a platform to perpetuate nonsense. I'm thinking Nation Media Group are the real clowns here. Ladies and gentlemen, we all saw that particular headline of, why do Kenyans vote for clowns? Was this out of line? Tulichokoza kiasi? Sylvia?
Yeah, so here's my opinion. The truth is that every election, Kenyans lose it. And I don't know if I want to use the word clown, but we elect leaders who do not merit becoming leaders. So I think that the Nation headline has some merit.
All right, and I hope this doesn't get you into trouble, Eliud, because you work for the Star competition, but did we get it right here?
Well, it's the truth. It's the truth that there are people were elected in, actually not just the last election, but even in past elections. Blaming Kenyans for this, because one of the issues even in this BBI conversation is about electoral justice, and some of these people, there have been allegations that they were rigged in, well, he is among the governors who won with a vast majority, but by him, the criticism of NTV hosting him, I don't think is, the media is here also to hold leaders to account. If you want to ask him questions, then why not offer him that platform to also maybe dig deeper? So I don't think
I'll get to that, because people at Schaefer also put it to me. What new thing will Ferdinand Waititu tell us at this time? Because it will be the same, if I may, in some other people's words, buffoonery that will be brought on our air, but perhaps that's because we want some ratings. But we'll get to that, and I'll ask for your opinion. Would you go by the same headline, or perhaps go okay this headline? Why do Kenyans vote for clowns, Macharia?
Clowns are the least of my worries. We don't only vote for clowns. We elect thieves. We elect murderers. We elect a lot of people who have absolutely, who we cannot justify how we do, why we do it. And we cannot blame anybody else. But here we have asked the questions. Why do Kenyans vote for clowns? Have we provided an answer?
Because of us being closed up in our cocoons of tribes.
Because we don't vote for policies, we don't vote for programs, we don't vote for ideology. All we know is that so-and-so is my tribal leader, and if he's elected, I might get some crumbs from whatever he's eating. That's it.
And I believe John Kamau in his piece, because this is what he wrote, and as he was explaining this and giving examples also of Sonko, the governor of Nairobi. And Makali, is this something that, was it kuchokoza too, just to get your attention, or we were actually onto something, on some nerve?
I think that that is not to be expected from the Daily Nation. Let me say it that way.
Not to be expected.
You see, it is not the place of editors or newspapers to label people. And clown is quite a serious attack on the character and integrity of those who are named.
I would go with thieves being even worse, what Macharia has just said here.
But you see, you can call some people thieves if you have justification or evidence to prove, or they have been proven by a court of law. Clown is dismissing somebody's character and conduct. it's admissible, but from a newspaper of record such as the Daily Nation, it got me a little like edgy, because that's not to be expected from the Daily Nation or the Nation Media Group. A newspaper of record, a newspaper that represents facts, that doesn't judge.
Stop those compliments. Stop, please, just too much.
Being judgmental on in a headline.
Yes.
I mean, as they say, you know, show me, don't tell me. So perhaps by just telling the story of how clownish these particular politicians are, we could tell as readers. But for you to announce that, you know, these are clowns and categorize them so, I think was too harsh for me. And I'm not one of those moderate people.
He did paint the theatrics that they went by, you know, such as the instant justice style here. You know what happened when that clip played and people making fun of it, and how they carry themselves. Even Sonko citing some of his theatrics. So perhaps the use of clowns there was, you know, appropriate.
Yeah, I think we have to, as much as maybe the word may seem a little bit harsh, but some of the behavior that has been exhibited by some of our leaders, honestly, there's no other way to describe it. Unless you use the more challenging words like what Macharia has used. We've got leaders who really have exhibited the worst form of behavior. They have no respect for their citizens. They have no respect for the offices they carry. They dress like clowns. They do things that are ridiculous. Like really some of the dress codes we have seen with some of our leaders, surely. I don't know how you can describe that. If really your leader is wearing more bling than the guys in Hollywood and turning up in, you know, all manner of, let me just say, interesting fashion styles, I don't know what they expect to be called.
Have you heard this thing about my dress, my choice? I mean,
even beyond the dressing, I think even the behavior, some of these leaders have been. I mean, we've seen these people throwing stones.
Unless you set a national code, dress code.
Yeah.
And those codes exist in particular institutions, in Parliament, for example, in the courts. You know, maybe in the newsroom.
But one of them was just out of Parliament, out of chamber.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Where there are codes that are applicable, you expect them to comply. But, you know, generally to decide that this is right and wrong in terms of dress code for everybody, you want to be hesitant about that.
Right.
I mean,
Macharia, then there's a question thrown to us. Then why do we entertain them? We have these big interviews and we bring them on. Is it because we don't agree with them and their style of leadership, does that mean we shouldn't have them on?
No, we can't ignore them. As long as these clowns are attracting the attention of Kenyans,
yes.
Well, maybe Kenyans are the clowns for falling for those things, then we can't ignore them. If a clown like Sonko can get 800,000 votes, more than any other politician in this the country, we can't ignore him.
Yeah.
But beyond acknowledging that, and we do need to also try and set the agenda. And I think it is important for us as the media to start pointing out some of these things. And I'm not talking about calling our leaders to account. I'm talking about calling ourselves as Kenyans into account. And for me, that is the importance of this headline. How do I, as a sane, rational, sober, partly intelligent Kenyan, go and elect somebody of that, I don't even know how to describe him, somebody who does not deserve to be anywhere near a position of responsibility.
Yes.
And then when he steals, when he misbehaves, I start complaining. Today, I've been following some groups in Kiambu and the discussion there. You would think that nobody voted for Waitito. The fact is every single one of them voted for Waitito. And now because he's in trouble, they're distancing themselves from him.
And you were making that point about you don't quite agree with people who are castigating us for inviting them and having a one-on-one. Yes, we want the ratings. I admit we would feel that there are people who would want to hear what Ferdinand Waitito has to say a day after his impeachment, you know, was stood by the Senate. And in our defense, we say we feel that it is newsworthy. Your view? So,
I mean, I remember like yesterday what we were looking for is Waitito's reaction after the impeachment. So what does this governor has to say? So, and I think there are many questions that people are asking rather than what is known or what he said in the Senate. So I would think such a platform gives the media an opportunity to also ask the question they might have. Why did you do this? Why did you take, as alleged, land that belonged to someone? Why did you do this? I think if you have that platform to ask the question, what I would disagree with is a platform for him to defend himself. That I would disagree with. But if it's a platform for him to ask the question that you want,
yes,
I think I don't see any problem with that.
Should we, deal with this carefully and how we interact with these leaders?
I don't think so. I mean, everybody deserves a platform to articulate their position, even defend themselves and advance their viewpoints. And I think, Waititu having been invited here tonight was a good thing. I mean, we want to see the postscript after the Senate, after all these things that have transpired, all the accusations, all the public discourse, discussions around his matter. What does he think? Maybe he would have come here and, express some remorse and say, look, I'm very sorry that I hurt that widow, or I think that I've thought about this and I was wrong, or, given us the new face of Waititu, not Governor Waititu, but citizen Waititu, what does he think and how does he look at all this drama that has happened around him?
Yeah.
I think curiously, I mean, a lot of Kenyans and viewers would be curious to find out how is Waititu feeling now.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think
he, but speaking the other way, I think he was smart not to come tonight. If I was advising him, I would told him not to come. Sorry to say, because I think he would prejudice most of the things he's planning to do, perhaps in his own interest, even his own case or cause that he wants to pursue in court. So I think it's judicious of him and prudent not to have shown up tonight.
In the name of pushing the
disappointing as it is,
pushing the conversation further, as people are challenging us to do.
Yeah, I think the real issue, I think, Masai, is that it's not a problem to give people the platform. The problem comes when the interviewer is not prepared, and then the platform becomes owned by the person who's coming to defend themselves. So you have a case where you have a very big interview. Like tonight, I was really waiting to watch Waititu. I was just wondering what his advisors were telling him to come and say. So imagine Waititu walking through the door, and then the interviewer is not well prepared to be able to take on the challenge of interviewing him. So then it becomes like you're giving him a free platform to come and sell his issues and sell his ideas. So I think for me, that's why that comment was made. That we are bringing people into the newsrooms, giving them a whole platform to come and talk like people don't know that what they have done. So I think what it calls for is for the people who are interviewing to take more time in preparing, so that when you bring someone to the studio, you really can hold them accountable and not just give them a platform to come and do like some, embellishment and, sort of sorting out their image using the press as a platform. I think for me, that is where the issue is.
Okay, and someone here says, Douglas Jumba, he gets into what we want to discuss next. You say, I stopped watching the news. This fourth estate needs radical post-mortem. Afadhali kuwatch Sophia the First. I do not know what that is, but I guess we could take it as a compliment. I do not know what Sophia the First is. Here it is. He actually put it here. It's a Disney Junior program. It's a cartoon.
He's talking about Sophia the cartoon.
Yeah, Sophia the cartoon. You watch it clearly.
Yeah, it's something for girls to watch.
And so we found some people around different parts of the country and asked them, what is their current source of news? Where do they go to get information? This is in different parts, and thanks to our correspondents who were able to get their views. Let's listen in.
Mitandao za kijamii kama Facebook wanga sijaamini sana.
Na mara kwa mara natembea televisheni.
Seem to be having a problem there with the audio, and as soon as we sort it out, we'll bring it back. But the whole point was to ask people, and of course it can't be a scientific study. It's just a handful of people, and we thank our correspondents who've managed to get us some of the responses from different counties. But it's to find out what their source right now is and where they have their trust. If they're moving from traditional, media, as we would call it, and I think we're ready for that. Let's listen in.
Mitandao za kijamii kama Facebook wanga sijaamini sana, cause kuna bloggers wengine wanaweka vitu zingine za uongo.
Napata news updates kutoka Google kwa sababu ni rahisi na mara kwa mara natembea na simu. Kwa hivyo ni rahisi kwangu. Pia napata kutoka kwa televisheni.
Watu kama sisi tuko na wifi huwa tunaingianga. Tunapata ma news yani unataka so ile ni unakuwa restricted kitu unataka. So sana sana online inakuwa sawa sawa. Compared vitu kama hizi magazine hizo printed ni kitu nafaa ununue kila day.
All I can say, it has some advantages because you get first-hand information as it comes. You can get videos according to what happened.
Magazeti sio sana sana kwa sababu most of the time mimi niko hapa kwa kazi. Sasa jioni nikienda ndio huwa ninaangalia TV, ninaona habari zangu.
I get my news from newspapers and television.
Mara nyingi ninapokea habari zangu kupitia kwa runinga na pia kupitia kwa magazeti na kwenye mitandao ya kijamii.
I get relevant data or information from social media, or rather the Facebook, WhatsApp and basically it's social media.
Mimi hufurahia kuona taarifa katika televisheni kwa sababu televisheni unaona vitendo na mambo yale yanafanyika.
Televisheni yanaona vitendo. And there's quite a number who talked about social media. And when you hear this being said, and many people actually tell me, are you still working at NTV? I'm like, yes, every week I'm there. You're probably not watching. I'm like, yeah, actually, I do not watch. Should we be concerned? And even the papers, when we talk about whether people buy the papers every day, and of course we're trying to move them to digital field. Are you, from where you're seated, concerned at how we package ourselves in terms of news media and putting it out there? Sylvia?
Yeah, I think there's a challenge, of course. If you're in print media right now, you'd really be concerned, especially if you look at that as a sample. But people need to be looking at how to leverage the convergence that is there now between social media, print media, and even broadcast media. So as much as people are picking up their news from social media, then print media and the broadcast media needs to make sure they are very present in those spaces, so that when I pick up my phone, the first thing I should see is breaking news from NTV, breaking news from KTN, or so that convergence is there. But at the end of the day, because people don't really trust social media, they will always go back to the traditional media sources to find out whether what they saw on social media is true. So therefore, there needs to be a sort of a change in the way print media does its stuff, so that you make sure that you're not waiting until tomorrow to share the news.
Right.
Whatever is coming out today, you're able to share using your social media channels as well. So I think for those who work in print media, they need to be very innovative in the way they package their news, in the way they sell their news, so that they're taking advantage and leveraging all these spaces and being there fast.
Yes.
Because whether you like it or not, the citizen media, the citizen journalist will be there fast if you're not there fast. So there needs to be a total rethink in how you get the news out. You don't wait until the morning to get the news out, but rather you find ways of getting it out faster.
As sub-editor at The Star, are you concerned when you hear more people talk about Facebook, Domina Angalia napata news, Twitter?
Well, the truth is print is going down and people are moving digital. I mean, Mashari was saying the reading habits are changing because people are actually, for convenience, people are using their phone. But what I ask is, when people say they get their news on social media, where do they get that news? Because social media doesn't develop news. It's, for instance, NTV has shared breaking news. What's the source of that news?
They probably talk about the alternative platforms.
Exactly,
not
the platform, exactly.
Yes.
Now that is happening, and we cannot run away from that, because as I said, the consumption is different. So what we need to do, and for example, I was checking the New York Times this week got, I think, 5 million subscribers, compared to the print is about 900,000. So clearly that shift is happening. I think what we need to do, as she says, is to how do we package this news? Because people are actually following us, but they're doing that on a different platform, not the traditional. For instance, now if I miss NTV's bulletin, I'll go to YouTube and watch the entire bulletin. So I think how we package that and how we share that information is, or that news is now what we need to work on.
Right. And Macharia, since you've been in industry for quite some time and now it's changing to digital, are we ready to transfer that audience to getting to subscribe for the paper?
We have no choice. There is a shift in, let me call it, reading patterns or,
Yes.
or viewing patterns. The young people are not buying newspapers. Young people, persons are not so much watching what you might call legacy media, whether it is TV and radio. They're quite happy to get their bites, what they can get on their phone or their laptops.
Yes.
The big challenge is, how do we shift our news there, and how do we monetize it? Because a newspaper is very easy to monetize it. It is a product you go and sell on the streets and you get your 60 bob. We have tried, and I think all Kenyan media have tried to get subscribers on their digital platforms, and all of them have failed. You're not getting any substantial subscriptions on our digital platforms. The moment you try to set up paywalls, all the readers go to the next free available platform.
Yes.
But I think there are lessons in this. We have failed because I think there are so many things that we have not taken into consideration. Our reaction has been to lay off staff.
Yes.
Every year there are cycles of layoffs at Standard, at Real Media, at
Radio Africa,
at Nation. But we forget that if we still want to have content online, that the production of generation of that content cannot be mechanized. It must still be done by journalists. It must still be done by journalists. Now, this problem was faced by many papers, many big media groups in the US and Europe a few years ago, and they started downsizing and laying off staff. Today, Washington Post, New York Times are hiring more people than the ones they had laid off, because their digital content is so captivating and it's getting such major subscriptions that they need people to produce more and more content.